During his lifetime, the holy youth Stanislaus Kostka, who was wholly dedicated to the love of Mary, happened on the 1st of August to hear a sermon preached by Father Peter Canisius, in which, exhorting the novices of the society, he urged them all with the greatest fervor to live each day as if it were the last of their lives, and the one on which they were to be presented before God's tribunal. After the sermon, St. Stanislaus told his companions that advice had been for him, and in a special manner the voice of God, for that he was to die in the course of that very month. It is evident from what followed that he said this either because God had expressly revealed it to him, or at least because he gave him a certain internal presentiment of it. 4 days afterwards, the blessed youth went with Father Emmanuel to St. Mary Major's. The conversation fell on the approaching feast of the Assumption, and the saint said, "Father, I believe that on that day a new paradise is seen in paradise, as the glory of the Mother of God, crowned Queen of Heaven, and seated so near to our Lord, above all the choirs of angels, is seen. And if, as I firmly believe it to be, this festival is renewed every year, I hope to see the next." The glorious martyr St. Lawrence had fallen by lot to St. Stanislaus as his patron for that month, it being customary in the society thus to draw them. It is said that he wrote a letter to his mother Mary, in which he begged her to obtain him the favor to be present at her next festival in heaven. On the feast of St. Lawrence, he received the Holy Communion, and afterwards entreated the saint to present his letter to the Divine Mother, and to support his petition with his intercession, that the Most Blessed Virgin might graciously accept and grant it. Towards the close of that very day, he was seized with fever, and though the attack was slight, he considered that certainly he had obtained the favor asked for. This indeed he joyfully expressed, and with a smiling countenance, on going to bed, said, "From this bed I shall never rise again." And speaking to Father Claudius Aquaviva, he added, "Father, I believe it that St. Lawrence has already obtained me the favor from Mary to be in heaven on the feast of her Assumption." No one, however, took much notice of his words. On the vigil of the feast, his illness still seemed of little consequence, but the saint assured a brother that he should die that night. "O brother," the other answered, "it would be a greater miracle to die of so slight an illness than to be cured." Nevertheless, in the afternoon he fell into a death-like swoon. A cold sweat came over him, and he lost all his strength. The superior hastened to him, and Stanislaus entreated him to have him laid on the bare floor, that he might die as a penitent. To satisfy him, this was granted. He was laid on a thin mattress on the ground. He then made his confession, and in the midst of the tears of all present, received the viaticum. I say of the tears of all present, for when the divine sacrament was brought into the room, his eyes brightened up with celestial joy, and his whole countenance was inflamed with holy love, so that he seemed like a seraph. He also received extreme unction, and in the meanwhile did nothing but constantly raise his eyes to heaven, and lovingly pressed to his heart an image of Mary. A father asked him to what purpose he kept a rosary in his hand, since he could not use it. He replied, "It is a consolation to me, for it is something belonging to my mother." "Oh, how much greater will your consolation be," added the father, "when you shortly see her and kiss her hands in heaven." On hearing this, the saint, with his countenance all on fire, raised his hands to express his desire soon to be in her presence. His dear mother then appeared to him, as he himself told those who surrounded him, and shortly afterwards, at the dawn of day on the 15th of August, with his eyes fixed on heaven, he expired like a saint, without the slightest struggle, so much so that it was only on presenting him the image of the Blessed Virgin, and seeing that he made no movement towards it, that it was perceived that he was already gone to kiss the feet of his beloved Queen in paradise.